Echoes of Shadows, The Hunt for Providence's Crimson Court. 1. The Shadow of Providence or Rhode Island was known for its maritime charm, but beneath the postcard-perfect views of Providence lay a labyrinth of secrets. Detective Julian Graves, a seasoned investigator with a reputation for solving the impossible, had seen his fair share of horrors. But this case was different. It began with a call at 3:13 a.m. A jogger stumbled upon a dismembered body in Roger Williams Park. The victim, a local businesswoman named Melissa Kane, was known for her philanthropy. Her severed hand clutched a rosary, the beads soaked in blood. Julian's instincts told him this wasn't a random act. The brutality spoke of rage, but the precision of the cuts whispered something far more chilling: ritual. 2. The Ledger of Blood. The investigation unearthed a sordid connection to a local underground group called the Crimson Court, rumored to be a syndicate of elites indulging in unspeakable acts. The group had eluded law enforcement for decades. Julian's partner, Detective Emily Carter, dug through financial records. Melissa Kane had recently donated to an anti-trafficking organization that clashed with powerful figures linked to the court. The deeper they delved, the clearer it became. Melissa's death was a message. "What's the play here?" Emily asked, scanning the names in a secret ledger they retrieved from Melissa's safe. Julian didn't answer. His eyes were fixed on one name: Senator Alan Drayton, a man whose public persona as a reformer masked a sinister past. 3. The veil-torn Julian and Emily's investigation hit a wall when a key witness, a former member of the Crimson Court, was found hanging in his apartment. His death was ruled a suicide, but the bruises on his wrists told another story. Pressure mounted as the media caught wind of the investigation. Drayton held a press conference, calling the allegations baseless conspiracy theories. Behind closed doors, however, he unleashed his private security force to silence anyone who dared challenge him. Julian's apartment was ransacked. Emily narrowly survived a car bomb. It became clear they were targets now. 4. The Crimson Night. Breakthrough came when Emily discovered an encrypted file in Melissa's digital archives. It contained footage of a Crimson Court gathering, filmed in secret. The video showed Drayton and others participating in grotesque rituals, culminating in a sacrifice eerily similar to Melissa's murder. Julian devised a risky plan. They would leak the footage to a trusted journalist while orchestrating a sting operation to catch the court in the act. The night of the sting, Julian and Emily infiltrated a secluded mansion in the woods. What they found was worse than they had imagined: cages filled with terrified captives, walls adorned with symbols drawn in blood, and the Crimson Court's members preparing for another ritual. 5. The reckoning operation spiraled into chaos. When one of the captives screamed, alerting the court, a violent firefight erupted. Julian fought his way through the chaos, his determination fueled by rage and justice. Emily confronted Drayton in the mansion's grand hall. He taunted her, claiming his power would protect him. Her response was a bullet to his leg, ensuring he couldn't escape. By dawn, the mansion was a smoldering ruin. Julian and Emily stood among the survivors, battered but resolute. The footage went viral, leading to arrests and public outcry. 6. The Cost of Justice. Months later, Julian sat alone in a bar, nursing a whiskey. Emily had resigned, unable to cope with the trauma. The survivors of the Crimson Court's atrocities faced long roads to recovery. The public demanded accountability, but many believed justice was incomplete. Julian's phone buzzed. An anonymous message read, "You've only scratched the surface. They're watching." He knew the fight wasn't over. In the shadows of Providence, evil still lurked, and Julian Graves would be ready. 7. The Silent Conspiracy. The anonymous message haunted Julian. Days later, a package arrived at his doorstep containing a cryptic note and a bloodied photograph. The photo showed a young girl with a missing persons report attached dated 3 years prior. The message read, "The next piece of the puzzle." Julian's investigation led him to uncover an even deeper layer of corruption. The Crimson Court wasn't just an isolated group. They had connections to international human trafficking rings. These rings had infiltrated local law enforcement, politicians, and even charities claiming to rescue victims. Determined to stop them, Julian teamed up with Sarah Vega, a journalist known for exposing organized crime. Together, they unraveled a network so vast it seemed impossible to bring down. 8. The web of Lisa's Julian and Sarah pursued leads. They encountered allies and enemies. One such ally was a hacker named Max, who infiltrated encrypted networks and unearthed damning evidence against powerful figures. Max's discoveries pointed to a high-profile gala in Boston, where several Crimson Court members planned to meet. Julian and Sarah decided to crash the event, posing as attendees. The gala was a maze of opulence and deceit. Hidden among the elite were traffickers and enforcers, their sinister plans masked by charm and luxury. Julian's cover was blown when he recognized a former associate of Drayton. A chase ensued, leading to a confrontation in the underground wine cellar. Blood was spilled, but Julian emerged victorious, though shaken. 9. The betrayal. Max's next discovery was a shock. Emily Carter, Julian's former partner, had resurfaced and she was working for the enemy. Consumed by fear and manipulation, Emily had become an asset for the Crimson Court, feeding them information on Julian's every move. Confronting Emily was one of the hardest moments of Julian's career. She claimed she had no choice, that they had threatened her family. Julian's fury was tempered by empathy, but he couldn't let her betrayal go unanswered. He offered her one chance to redeem herself by helping him take down the court. 10. The final seat of Crimson Court's headquarters was hidden in plain sight, a sprawling estate owned by a billionaire philanthropist. Julian, Sarah, Max, and a team of rogue agents planned an all-out assault. Emily provided the schematics, her redemption hanging on the operation's success. The siege was brutal. Explosions rocked the estate as Julian led the charge. Max disabled security systems while Sarah documented everything for the world to see. The team faced heavy resistance, but they pressed on, rescuing captives and uncovering damning evidence. In the heart of the mansion, Julian faced the court's leader, a man known only as the Cardinal. Their battle was fierce, a clash of ideologies and raw strength. In the end, Julian prevailed, but not without scars. 11. The Fleuth operation's success sent shockwaves through the nation. Arrests were made, and the Crimson Court's atrocities were exposed. Survivors found hope, and the public demanded systemic change. But Julian knew the fight wasn't truly over. The court's remnants would regroup, and new evils would rise. For now, though, he allowed himself a moment of quiet triumph and the hope that his sacrifices had made a difference. 12. The echoes of justice. Months later, Julian received another anonymous message. This time, it wasn't a threat but a promise. You've inspired us. The fight continues. 13. The hunt deepens. Julian's search for the remaining members of the Crimson Court began to unearth connections to other shadowy organizations. One name surfaced repeatedly: the Black Nexus, a syndicate operating globally with ties to arms smuggling, narcotics, and human trafficking. The court was just one of many nodes in their sprawling network. Using his connections with Sarah, Julian tracked a lead to an abandoned shipping yard in New York. There, he discovered a ledger containing a list of upcoming auctions, human lives sold to the highest bidder. The scope of the operation was staggering, and the consequences of inaction were unthinkable. 14. The Auction of Souls team devised a plan to intercept one of the auctions scheduled in an upscale hotel under the guise of a charity gala. Posing as buyers, Julian and Sarah infiltrated the event while Max worked remotely to disrupt the auction's digital bidding platform. Tension rose as Julian mingled with the wealthy and dangerous attendees. When the auction began, a young boy was brought onto the stage, his eyes filled with terror. The sight fueled Julian's resolve, and he signaled Sarah to initiate their plan. Chaos erupted as law enforcement stormed the venue. Arrests were made, and the captives were freed. 15. The price of betrayal. Despite the victory, the team's actions had drawn the attention of the Black Nexus. A chilling message was sent to Julian, a photo of Sarah's apartment, taken from inside. The group's reprisal was swift and merciless. Sarah's safe house was firebombed, forcing her into hiding. Emily, still struggling to regain Julian's trust, provided intel on a Nexus stronghold in Chicago. The information came at a cost. Emily's family was kidnapped, and her loyalty was once again tested. 16. The Stronghold's Chicago operation was fraught with danger. The Stronghold, a fortified warehouse, housed not only trafficked individuals but also a cache of weapons and drugs. Julian led the assault. Relying on Max's technical expertise and Sarah's sharpshooting skills, the raid culminated in a tense showdown with one of the Nexus's lieutenants, a ruthless enforcer known as Crate. Crate's capture yielded critical information about the Nexus's hierarchy and their next moves. The victory was bittersweet, as Emily's family was nowhere to be found. 17. The enemy within. As the team regrouped, they discovered a mole within their ranks. Max uncovered a series of encrypted messages that pointed to someone feeding information to the Nexus. Suspicion fell on Emily, reigniting old wounds. The tension threatened to tear the team apart just as they needed unity the most. Emily's desperate plea for trust led Julian to investigate further. The real mole turned out to be a trusted ally in law enforcement, proving that the Nexus's influence extended even deeper than they had feared. 18. The Cardinal's returned man known as the Cardinal, presumed dead after the siege, resurfaced with a chilling broadcast. He declared war on Julian and his allies, vowing to dismantle everything they had built. His words were a rallying cry for the remnants of the court and the Nexus. Julian's resolve hardened. He vowed to end the Cardinal's reign once and for all, no matter the cost. 19. The final stand climactic battle took place in a sprawling underground facility beneath a luxury casino. The team's infiltration was met with heavy resistance, and casualties mounted. Julian faced the Cardinal in a brutal hand-to-hand fight, their ideological differences manifesting in every strike. As the facility began to collapse, Sarah and Max worked to extract the captives while Julian delivered the killing blow to the Cardinal. The cost was high, but the mission was a success. 20. The legacy of Shadows. In the aftermath, Julian stood amidst the ruins of the facility, reflecting on the lives saved and the sacrifices made. The Cardinal's network was dismantled, but the scars remained. Julian's journey had changed him, and the fight against evil would continue. Sarah published an expose that shook the world, and Max disappeared into anonymity, his mission complete. Julian, however, remained in Providence, ready to face whatever shadows the city's underbelly would throw at him next. 1. Resurgence. In the dark months after the fall of the Cardinal, whispers of a new syndicate began to surface, dubbed the Umbra. They operated in absolute secrecy, picking up the fractured pieces of the Nexus and Crimson Court. Julian, still haunted by his past battles, knew he couldn't turn away. The Umbra's first move was audacious, a coordinated attack on a major tech corporation's data servers, exposing sensitive global security information. Julian and Sarah were called in by a shadow government agency to investigate, with Max's skills brought back into the fold. 2. Ghosts of the Past team uncovered evidence that members of the Umbra were former allies of the Cardinal. Them was a ghost from Julian's past, a woman named Cassandra, a former operative who had once saved Julian's life during his military service but now appeared to lead the syndicate. Cassandra's involvement shook Julian, and his resolve to confront her was complicated by lingering guilt and admiration for her. The mission took on a deeply personal tone. 3. The Underworld's Marcada daring undercover mission led the team to an international summit of crime lords, held aboard a luxury cruise liner in the Mediterranean. The summit was a bidding war for advanced weaponized AI technology stolen during the Umbra's attack. Julian's cover was almost blown when he encountered Cassandra, who seemed eerily aware of his presence. In a tense standoff during the auction, Julian and Sarah exposed the event, forcing an all-out brawl that saw the cruise liner's destruction. 4. Fractured loyalties. Cassandra sent a message to Julian, offering him a meeting under a truce. In a secluded location, she revealed her motivations: disillusionment with global systems of power and a desire to create her own order. Julian saw the sincerity in her words but recognized the danger her methods posed. The encounter left him conflicted, but Sarah warned him not to be swayed, reminding him of the countless lives destroyed by the Umbra. 25. The Web Titans. Max uncovered a series of encrypted communications suggesting the Umbra's next move, an assassination attempt on a prominent and global diplomat advocating for stricter anti-trafficking laws. The team raced against the clock to thwart the plot, leading to a dramatic shootout in Geneva. Though the diplomat was saved, Cassandra escaped, leaving behind a cryptic warning for Julian: "You'll see the truth soon enough." 26. The breaking point for relentless pursuit began to take its toll on Julian. Doubts crept in about the morality of his methods and whether true justice was achievable. Sarah's unwavering commitment and Max's cold pragmatism clashed, creating friction within the team. A major rift occurred when Max, frustrated by the team's hesitation, leaked classified Umbra documents to the public, causing widespread panic and unintended consequences. 27. Cassandra's Gambit. Cassandra unleashed a devastating cyber attack on multiple global financial institutions, destabilizing economies. She framed her actions as necessary to bring about a new era of accountability. Julian realized her plan was to dismantle the world's power structures entirely, regardless of the human cost. 28. The trap. Using Cassandra's ego against her, Julian devised a trap, luring her into believing he would join her cause. The final confrontation took place in an abandoned Cold War bunker, now serving as the Umbra's command center. The battle was fierce and emotionally charged. Julian's hesitation almost cost him his life, but Sarah's intervention turned the tide. Cassandra was captured but left Julian with haunting words, "You'll become what you hate." 29. Shadow's Fadith. Umbra's network crumbled after Cassandra's capture, and key members were arrested. Julian testified before an international tribunal, detailing the horrors he'd witnessed. Despite the victory, he felt no triumph, only exhaustion. Sarah and Max parted ways, each seeking a semblance of normalcy. Julian returned to Providence, but the shadows lingered in his mind. 30. A light in the dark. Years later, Julian opened a foundation dedicated to supporting survivors of trafficking and organized crime. Though he retired from active investigations, his legacy inspired a new generation of fighters. On a quiet evening, he received a letter with no return address. Inside was a single line, "The fight continues, thanks to you." Julian smiled faintly, feeling, for the first time in years, a sense of peace.